I can't remember the 90s. Well, I guess I can kind of vaguely remember the 90s, but you can't really expect a lot out of a small child. I was born in December of 1993, so things are probably pretty foggy all the way up until kindergarten, which for me probably would have been about 2000. My recollection of this time primarily consisted of the stories my mother told me about the below freezing temperatures that they had that day. It was really hard for her to get to the hospital because the car wouldn't start because the oil froze. So my dad's dad, my grandpa Jim, had to hold a hairdryer under the car where the oil was and get it to unfreeze so that they could get my mom to the hospital to deliver me. Aside from family tales about the holiday season and my birth, I do have a little bit of pop culture knowledge. If you can see my shirt, I'm wearing a Sublime shirt. It's a 90s band. I like a lot of 90s music, alternative and grunge and rap alike. I do know that around my birthday, Courtney Love, lead singer of the band Hole and wife of Kurt Cobain at the time, was in trouble and had to sue her lawyers for leaking information that she was on treatment of methadone for her heroin. So that's not really news though, because that happens to her like every year. I also was made to watch more than one time Steven Spielberg's 7 Academy Award-winning film, Schindler's List, in my history class. The film followed a German businessman who saved many Jewish refugees during the Holocaust by employing them in his factories. Schindler's List was so outstanding, it earned over $300 million in revenue on only a $20 million budget. The film was also ranked 8th on the list of the top 100 American films of all time. One of my personal favorite movies, though, although it didn't win as many awards, was also released in December of 1993. This film featured Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio at a very young age, and it was called What's Eating Gilbert Grape. It was a really sad film. Johnny Depp was the main character. It followed his life and how he was stuck in a small town with no ambition or goals, and a really, really obese mom who couldn't even leave her house, and pretty much about his escape from that town and how to do better. On the subject of child actors, Michael Jackson put his first public statement out on the 22nd that the child molestation accusations against him were totally false and that he should not be judged until he is tried justly in court. I'm not going to say much on that topic, and I don't want to speak ill of a man who's passed away. But justice is something that the main character in ID Software, later called Bethesda, main character in Doom, would not understand. This was the first first-person shooter to be released with advanced graphics on the computer. It was kind of 3D, especially for the time it would definitely be considered 3D. Doom truly revolutionized the way first-person shooters were made today, such as popular franchises like Call of Duty and Battlefield. To this day, I still play the very first, second, and third Doom games on my computer and my PlayStation 3, except for now I just play them with revamped graphics and the ability to play split-screen cooperation mode with a friend. Aside from popular culture, my knowledge of actual historical events and occurrences that are important to more than just me are pretty unknown. So I decided to research a little bit. And after researching my birth month and year, I discovered that NASA launched the space shuttle Endeavour on the 2nd of the month. Endeavour's main mission was to repair a piece on the Hubble Space Telescope, which it was successful in doing. Later on in the month, the first corrected images from the Hubble Space Telescope were released to the public, so it was a good thing that the Endeavour could go up there and fix it. It was a huge month for NASA in December of 1993. They got a lot accomplished. The idea of going to space has always been a very spooky one for me, because something about the unknown just really isn't that inviting. Another thing that just isn't inviting is a cold jail cell. Connor Ferguson is still sitting in one to this day, serving his sentence of 315 years and 8 months or life. If you're like me and don't really recognize the name, he was responsible for the Long Island Railroad Massacre, which resulted in 6 murdered and 19 injured. It is sad names like this live on throughout history, names as cold as the month of December itself. December of 1993 was surely a busy year. There were good and bad times alike, but that could be said of any month, any year, depending on the person's perspective. Based on all my research, I believe that the end of 1993 and the beginning of 1994 was a very revolutionary time frame. Games like Doom paved the way for first-person shooters and other video games alike. NASA advanced and paved the way to space, where we might be going to Mars pretty soon. And movies like Schindler's List force actors and directors to push the bar and get into the next gear. Even Steven Spielberg has advanced in his movies. It's been fun to watch things progress over the years, and I can't wait to see technology and everything advance even more throughout the decades I'm alive. And I want to give a special shout out to everyone who watched this speech. Here's Aaron, Suzanne, and Kevin.
Hey,
Thank
good
you.
job, Zoe.